All right, this is my second Right on the Edge by Brenda St. Louis. And I'm going to share an excerpt of the prologue, the beginning of the book. If you listened to the excerpt before, we talked a little bit about Cypher. We talked about the book and it being an AI piece, no, not an AI, YA, young adult fiction. And it's sci-fi, I guess, speculative fiction, talking about the journey from creating a reality that lives in this kind of toxic capitalism. I don't actually name that in the book, and we don't actually talk about it. It's more about leaning into how we bring technology in to create a different reality that's related to the earth. So I think that humanity is always going to innovate and expand and learn and create different possibilities. And this book is really about talking about harnessing the power of our own creativity, innovation, and interconnectedness with each other. And it's a journey of two children primarily as they move through the world. It's dimensional travel, it's quantum physics, it's artificial intelligence, it's a deep and abiding relationship with the earth through the mycelial network, or mycelium, or the mushroom bodies in the soil that communicate. And it's a really beautiful exploration of all the things that I love, okay? And it's merged into a piece of fiction. I'm in the process of making this, I'm still writing it. I mean, the book is done in the storyline, but I'm in editing mode. But I'm also in creating a buzz around this concept of a reciprocal economy. And I thought I wanted Right on the Edge to be that place where we are right on the edge of stepping into a different reality. I mean, with climate change and everything that's happening in the world, we're all wanting a new reality. People are gathering together to create something, a new earth, a new way of being, and not just accepting the status quo. So this is my invitation to all of you to let's reimagine it in a fun, tapped in, powerful way. And what I want to do is I want to share the process of getting this book out into the world. And as I share excerpts, if it speaks to you in any way and it lights up you in any way, please write in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas and your expressions into what does the mycelium network mean to you? What does AI and technology bring up for you? And what does the big brother powers that be do for you? So I'd love to hear your insights and maybe even your rejections of this concept, because having a think tank in moving this forward into the world is really about it being tested and people pushing into it and opening into the work that I want to create in the world with alignment. So sometimes it's nice to be challenged, and I always appreciate it, because not a lot of times we can get pat on the back and say it's great, it's great, it's great, and then when it could even be better. And that's what I want. I want it to be the best it can and be gentle on me. I'm a writer, so as a writer, we're often a little careful. Our hearts are a little tender because this is our creative process. However, anyway, so I'm just going to share a little bit. The next part of this, I'm going to skip a little forward ahead just to give you a little. This is more of a backstory. So 3 years ago, Sienna and her sister Mary had created a computer game that changed how the various gaming networks could interact. They had been recruited. Well, Sienna had been recruited to work with the Institute's top developers for AI intelligence. Mary was being monitored closely since she was instrumental in helping Sienna convert the coding into perceptrons. Both girls were considered special assets. The innovation could control most transactions that happened on the internet, and it could also manipulate how the transactions occurred. Ever since the global ban on AI development without organic input, Cloudhaven has been recruiting children from all over to aid in their development. No organization was permitted to develop AI technology that couldn't first interface with the human brain and body. This slowed innovation to an almost standstill. Cypher's parents were both scientists and developers for the Institute before the ban. They were well known as experts in whole brain emulation, essentially creating a computer that acts like a human brain. Cypher knew that his parents' research was part of why they were killed. He just didn't know why. The Institute wanted to lead the discoveries in the artificial intelligence arms race, and the race to whole brain emulation was happening all over the world. Cloudhaven was trying to be the leader in creating an interface that would mimic the human brain. That was what the children were here for. Their neural networks were much more pliable than any adults. They gathered the most promising children from all over the world and let them learn how to interface with the AI coding to create a bridge to this new world of interconnectedness with technology. Sienna and Mary were treated like superstars, and it created a hierarchy in the school. Most of the students were intimidated by them. Sienna interrogated everyone so that she could be certain that her position as the best was not taken from her. Avoiding Sienna's constant surveillance has been a challenge for Cypher. Cypher looked away, trying to ignore her. Yeah, so I'll let Dr. Cross know about your fancy language. He'll be glad I found it first. She was walking backwards towards the door, taunting Cypher. Sienna marched off and Cypher followed. He attempted to slow his gait so that she might not notice he was following. Just as she was about to open the door to the lab, she turned around. Cypher, you can't come in here. She looked up into the surveillance camera directly in front of her. His eyes quickly darted to the 3 other cameras that were tracking him along the corridor. As she slipped through the big metal doors to the test labs in the east wing, he moved to the corner just under the camera closest to the door. With practiced certainty, he pulled all his energy in as he disappeared from them for a moment. His field of energy collapsed in on him. The neck of the camera turned toward the movement further down the hall. There were 5 other kids jostling each other near the door leading to the gardens. Cypher slipped through the door behind her. All right. Until we meet again.